Hello YouTube. How are you? My name is Neon. Today, the title of this video is going to be the California foster care system, my experience leaving it. So, a little background information. The particular foster home that I was in the city of Paris, which is in Riverside County. I was booted from this foster home the day after I turned 18. I'll explain why later. Some of this is background information that I feel is necessary. So, listen up. The setup was, the home had 4 rooms. There was F. She was the woman who owned the home. There was a small farm on her home too. There were 2 foster girls. They was like 9 and 11, something like that. There was Mrs. G's room. There was F, 2 little foster girls' rooms, Mrs. G's room, and our room, which is mine and my siblings. When I went there, I was 16 and my sibling was 15. So, it's my birthday. I done turned 18. I could smoke now. I come home from school with my sibling. Our foster sisters are there, and a little boy's there who, he was maybe like 9 or 10 or something like that. And he was actually, if I have all of this remembered, since it was over 30 years ago. Well, over 20 years ago. He was the grandson of F, who was the owner, but not the foster mom. The foster mom, Mrs. G, she was... Who the hell was she? She was the daughter-in-law of F, if I remember correctly. And her children was grown. I believe she was a teacher. And I believe that her husband, the son of F, had died. But I don't remember that well. I could be wrong. So I come home from school, and the grandson of F, either he had told us, or the girls had told us that he had told them that F had beaten him. And I don't remember it like it was yesterday. I just remember the important parts of it. I don't remember the minutia. I don't remember the minutia. So, at some point, I basically said, well, take off your shirt and let me see. She had beat him on his back the way, and forgive me, Lord, this is not being disrespectful, but the way Jesus was beaten. Straps, and some of the marks, which were like lines. I don't know if she used, I don't know what she used, a stick, a branch, but they was like this, maybe the size of my pinky, running across his back, and some of the marks like crossed each other. So she was just beating him. This is immoral. This is immoral to treat any human being, particularly children, in this way, because we know we could get away with it. That's really the main reason, and we don't have self-control. We have to resort to this. That's what she did. F. That's what F did. So, when I saw the wounds, I was shocked. I mean, growing up, yeah, I experienced similar beatings as well. Although the way we were beat was a little different. We weren't generally beaten on the back. So I called the police, and the police as well as Child Protective Services came over. I'd assumed we was just going to go to another foster home. The girls were just going to go to another foster home. Because Mrs. G, I know one time she beat the girls. She beat one of the girls because I could hear her screaming bloody murder. And I say screaming bloody murder meaning she was being beaten really badly. So the police came, CPS came. The woman who came from CPS was not, she didn't really appear to be like she was like shocked or impressed. A lot of child protective folks have seen such horrible beatings that unfortunately if the child ain't got a missing limb or the child ain't got blood that's coming out their body right now, they may not be moved. And she was just not that moved by it. So when I had called the police, I had told my sibling, my foster sisters, and the little boy, the grandson of F, I told them after I called the police from a neighbor's house that I'm going to call the home and let them know what's up. So they didn't answer the phone. The answering machine came on and I was angry and I was cussing a little bit into the answering machine. So the police came. What CPS told me was that, this is what the CPS worker told me. She said that because F was the one who beat him, and F was not the foster mom, that her behavior couldn't affect us since she hadn't beaten us directly. They also said that she was not going to be arrested because his wounds had healed up, even though a few of the strap marks had opened up slightly, like where the pressure of the beatings, of the strappings, was the most intense. Those little open areas along these strap marks had scabbed up. So she must have beat him like the day before or something. So they said that technically they were limited as to what they could do because the wounds wouldn't open. That's what they said. To me, that's absurd, but that's what they said. F has said that she wanted me out of her home once she realized that the police weren't going to do anything. I had heard part of the police asking, why did you do this? What makes you think, that was necessary? What she did was blamed him. That's what people do. They blame the victim when they abuse someone. She said, well, because he was a cute kid, but he had this look of like a tough kid. Like he might grow up and be a boxer or a UFC fighter. He looked like a little ruffian. I was 18 and scared of the little 10-year-old. He was rough. No, he wasn't rough, but he did have a tough look. My experience chatting with him was that he was a good kid. He was a good young man. But she played off of his appearance, that he did look like a rough kid, whatever that means, right? Whatever that means. How do you know he looked rough? I don't know, but he looked like a tough kid. So she played off that, and she said, F said, well, I don't want him to get in gangs, and he don't obey me, and I don't know what to do, and I'm trying to keep him out of trouble, and I have to put up with so much. She played the one time I ever cussed in their presence. She played the recording, to which, as I'm listening to them, I was like, oh my God, are they going to arrest me for cussing? I was like, because she was turning the whole situation to her benefit. The police called his biological dad to pick him up because they wanted to make sure he was no longer in her home. And that was it. They didn't arrest her. I don't know if she was called to court or not, but CPS told me that she wanted me out of her home because of reporting her. And I was like, well, where do I go? I ain't got nowhere to go. I don't have money. I don't have nobody. And I'm about to graduate from high school. My graduation was 2 months away. They wanted to put me in a group home, as I understood it, for young men who had committed some kind of crimes and some kind of violence. And I was like, and it was, by the way, it was across Riverside County, a fairly large county. So I was like, I'm about to graduate and I need to finish my last course so I can graduate from high school. She said, well, I don't know what to say because you're 18. Technically, they can kick you out. Technically, there's not much that we really have to do, but we could do that for you, or you could find your own place. I called a pastor who had a friend who happened to live right by my high school. My pastor was a woman, Pastor Brooks, and her friend was like also a woman. She was she was an officer in the Air Force, and this lady was strict. She was strict. But she let me stay there till the day I graduated, and I had to leave the day after. Which was fine. It was still a blessing. Because I was a pain in her butt. I was a pain in her butt. She was a pain in my butt too, but it was her home. So her pain in my butt was acceptable, I guess. And that's how I got booted. It's interesting because they did let me spend the night, and F let me spend the night, and the next morning F, because I think she was shocked at what I did. I think she was like, whoa, he done called out the cavalry. She tried to talk to me in a civil way, but at that point I was disgusted by her. I looked at her like she wasn't even human, because her behavior, in my opinion, was inhuman, and certainly inhumane, to do that to her own grandson. So when she tried to talk to me in a nice way, I just looked at her and I ignored her. I told her, don't you talk to me. And I was out there, I was out of there that day. I was gone. I ain't never looked back at them. Mrs. G was better to us, but probably because as young teenage males, we were bigger than these two women, so they weren't going to beat us. But I do know that Miss G had beaten the younger girls. So I don't think Miss G was that much better, even though she didn't beat us. So that was my experience leaving the foster care system in California. This is not a professional study or whatever. This is my personal experience, and it is honest. If you like my video, like, subscribe, share, comment, commercials. Recommend my video. Do one or more of those. Best wishes.